Yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering,
Laura.
it's not the Lungwort, but one of my absolute favorite quotations involves a lichen, and it's where he's conversing with Sarah Alden Ripley,
Yes.
who has told him that the dust on the underside of, rocks and stone walls around here,
Right.
the greenish or yellowish dust is a decayed state of a lichen.
Yes.
La Prairie of Chlorina, I don't know what, I'm not
I have
a
that
person, and I can't.
So that's Mrs. Ripley from the Old Manse?
Oh yes,
Ah.
who was a lichen. There's wonderful stories about her. My favorite one, the family was, it's a cold night, they're about to toss a log on the fire, and she snatches it out of the fire because she loves the lichens on it. And
Wonderful. The amazing Mrs. Ripley.
she was. Anyway, so Thoreau, some of the beautiful passages you read, lichens evoke something in him. He has one of my all-time favorite passages as he's thinking about this little lichen bit, little lichen factoid, and he says something like, "Such is the value of mutual intelligence."
Oh.
And it's like, okay, the friendship between them, but then the friendship with the lichen and the friendship with science and the whole sort of the sense of the unity of the world. But mutual intelligence is just...
Is that in the journals?
Yes, it's in the journal. It just opens up so beautifully. And like I say, it's the lichens that get him thinking.
I mean, it's certainly in the Maine woods, it was the white pine around here, the Andromeda, and out west, the wild apple. But the lichen is something really special because it keeps popping up so many times. There's another quote in the journals, it's in here somewhere, about, to paraphrase, it's the handbill. At that time, advertisements with handbills. It's the handbill that affixes itself to the north side of trees. That's how nature advertises. I think he uses the word, that's how nature advertises itself. So they keep us sort of collecting these anecdotes too at that time. So, Henry has given us so many gifts, and that's why we're still talking about it today.
Well, the whole process of us doing the book together, the illustrations and setting up the book, and obviously Jeff writing the book, it was synchronicity after synchronicity. Just things that it felt like Henry was, if I can take the liberty of saying Henry was there with us at points, or he came in for just to give us the kind of a little, okay? Didn't you feel that too?
Oh, totally. I felt it here, and I also felt it going through my whole body sometimes when we would find something in the literature. Like, okay, when we did the orb chapter, we could read a little bit from that, which we call Orbs and Orbit. I thought, I wonder if Henry talked about orbs, Journal, December 25th, 1858. A moment ago you saw that glittering orb, and now you detect no trace of it. So, he was always there. With that story about sitting in the studio, and I know Huck probably did not like that, even though he had promised, I guess it was Mr. Green in Michigan to commission the work. I think he gives one to Mr. Brown or Blake. He leaves some in Worcester and takes one with him or something, or sends one to Michigan. So we imagined, or at least I imagined, Mr. Brown and Blake outside and sort of milling around, maybe looking through the curtains as he's done yet, and if Leslie and I could do this one together. So the Mrs. Brown and Blake, I imagine, may have had a conversation that went something like this. Mrs. Blake speaking. Everyone must do his duty now, I suppose, to sit for his or her likeness while the silver plate is slowly etched away. Blake taps his umbrella on the deck for emphasis while Theo Brown does his best not to look past a part in the drapes where Henry still waits.
Yes, Blake, but the thought of our Henry sitting in there transfixed while he'd rather be jumping out of his chair like a squirrel or a woodchuck.
Now, Brown, perhaps you'll think of it as a type of meditation, and we'll soon have an image to back up the wonderful things he's been writing to you.
Ah, yes, when Henry expounds to you in his letters or what he has set down in Walden or a week, his words seem to lift off the page and go right to the heart of the matter.
Right to the mind of the matter, or rather to the matter of the mind.
You can say that again, Blake. Or rather, you just did.
Just then, if I can continue here because Henry's coming. Just then, Henry appears at the door, none the worse for the viewing, tugging loose his tie. How quickly can we organize another outing into Purgatory Chasm? Brown strokes his jaw. Blake gives that umbrella another tap. Henry hastily opens his portmanteau, packing away his tie and taking out his compass. Yeah, so we really had fun with it. It was the wind in our sails that kept us through it. And should I do a...
Sure.
I wonder if all the people who put this building together would be offended with one song on the banjo. Yeah? I played banjo, Henry played flute. So I thought, how do I get the flute and the banjo together? In Walden he mentions, and later of course in the journals, helping someone to a polar star. If I was the runaway slave, and if I could bring a banjo with me, I might be sure of having a nice meal, a dinner. So in the story or song that's created, there's 4 songs in the book. You can go on the website and hear them. Thanks to Leslie's posting for me there. And this song I call Lazarus. It's a good theme of waking up. And Lazarus is walking the railroad, the Fitchburg line, but it's also the Underground Railroad. And he meets Johnny Reardon. Curiously, of course, Henry had given a coat to his son. And has anyone ever studied the whole history of the Irish shanties and Collins and all those people? That would be another great study maybe for the bicentennial. Because it was Henry's exposure to another whole realm of society. The railroads being built, these people come in and live right in the shadow, like a movie that shows it quite well. So it was really beautiful. Oh, anyways, I'll play it. It's done in the old style, the way banjos were played back